Coming up,
It's just all lies, all lies. But I held on to that hope that she was okay.
catching a monster,
He weaved a web of wicked deception.
the extraordinary police investigation
That's the moment.
that solved one of Australia's
Who does that to a little girl?
Chucked her away like rubbish.
most horrendous crimes. But she was in your care.
I'm not this monster, this unfit mother.
Next on 60 Minutes. What possesses a human being to be so evil? It's a question that must be asked about Justin Stein. At the beginning of 2022, the then 31-year-old murdered 9-year-old schoolgirl Charlise Mutten. She'd innocently put her trust in him, hoping he could be a much-wanted father figure. In return, Stein shot her in the face. He then thought he'd get away with his crime by outwitting homicide detectives working to solve it. He failed. Tonight, we go inside the extraordinary investigation that caught this killer. And for the first time, we hear from Charlise's distraught mother, Kalista. A warning though, this story contains some distressing material and frequent coarse language. Kalista Mutton loved her daughter Charlise, and there is no question Charlise loved her mum.
Where do I even start with how the murder of my daughter has impacted me?
Almost 3 years on from the horrific murder of her precious child, this mother would give anything to have her daughter back, and just about as much to ease the pain of the guilt she feels.
I am forced to live with the fact that I trusted someone with my daughter, and that because of my trust in someone, I put my daughter in harm's way.
Kalista played no part in the little girl's death, other than foolishly falling in love with this man, Justin Stein.
I regretted putting relationships first. I hate myself for it. I really do. It's taken this for me to wake up and realise that I already had someone that loved me unconditionally.
Of course.
And he took that away from me. He's a monster, pure evil.
Tonight, how detectives outsmarted a callous killer.
Who shoots a little girl in the face?
Hi, Justin. Detective Sergeant John Loadings. How you going, mate?
The forensic evidence, vital security vision, and damning voice recordings.
And I've got my fucking guns, and I'm gonna fucking kill you now. I'm fucking serious.
That unravelled Justin Stein's web of lies.
Oh, that kid really does mean the world to me. If anything happens, I'll never live with myself.
I think he's diabolical, evil, personified.
What have your mistakes cost you?
My daughter's life.
Kalista Mutton admits she's made some dreadful decisions. At the time of Charlise's death, she was addicted to ice and her life was out of control. Early in the murder investigation, police cleared her of any involvement. But that didn't stop an angry public blaming her for not properly protecting her child. You've lost so much. What do you gain from doing this interview?
I'm not this monster that everyone has sort of read in the papers and the news.
Today, she's clean but fragile. It's extremely painful for her to relive what happened in the days surrounding her daughter's death. But despite the shame she feels, she wants to tell her story, as complicated and at times ugly as it is.
I didn't commit any murder or anything like that, but I do take accountability of the things that I have done.
Can you understand why the nation judged you?
Of course, yeah. I wish I had a been there more for her, and like I see that now, and I've got to live with that. Charlise deserved more.
Lead investigator, Detective Sergeant Brad Gardner, says as flawed as her character is, Kalista Mutton is a victim, not the villain.
She's an easy scapegoat in this proceeding. The community had their comment about her in terms of being a bad mother. She also has this burden that she trusted Justin Stein, and she regrets that decision every day.
Kalista and Justin Stein first got together back in 2018. It was a chance meeting while they were both in jail. Renovations at the prison meant all inmates, men and women, shared the same visiting area.
He said I was beautiful, and he got my name, and then we started writing letters to one another. Yeah.
Back then, Kalista was serving time for driving a car while high on drugs. She'd had a crash and killed her passenger. Stein, a former heroin addict, was doing 6 years behind bars for importing cocaine. Having been convicted of serious crimes, Kalista thought they'd both learnt their lesson. What was it about him?
We had the same sort of goals, sort of thing, where we wanted to do better and have a better life.
That better life would last less than 12 months. After Kalista and Justin were released from jail, they moved into his family's luxurious home in Mount Wilson, a picturesque village in the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney. Charlise was in the custody of her grandparents in Queensland, where she'd lived since she was 4. But Kalista says, despite the distance, the bond between mother and daughter remained strong.
She just was just the most incredible, amazing little girl, and every conversation we'd have, like, I'd always say, you're smart, you're kind, you're important, and she'd just lap it up. She'd just go, oh, thanks, Mummy, and then she would say, you know, you're beautiful, and she would say it back, and we just had this amazing connection, and that she just absolutely, she was my #1 fan.
All her daughter Charlise wanted was a mum and dad. So when, at the end of 2021, her grandparents agreed to let her spend the Christmas holidays in Sydney with Kalista and Justin Stein, she couldn't wait.
She wanted to be like her classmates that were bringing their mum and dad to school, and as much as she loved her grandparents, there was an undeniable love that she had for her mother, and that she just wanted a family.
Kalista was hoping the trip to Sydney would lead to having Charlise in her care on a more permanent basis. And for the first few weeks, the holiday went well. Photos from Charlise's last Christmas alive show a happy little girl with her presents. And her long-held wish of having 2 parents seemed to be coming true.
He actually, you know, like, said in the car, like on the way to Christmas, that, you know, like, I'm always going to be a father figure for you, Charlise, and you can call me Daddy because, you know, like, I love you like you're my own. And that was a very touching moment for both of us, because she always longed for her dad.
So you had no reason to ever believe that he would hurt her?
No, and that's what makes it so hard.
It was just after New Year's when the holiday took a turn for the worse. In the days leading up to her death, Charlise and her mum were staying at Stein's caravan here on the Hawkesbury River, a 2-hour drive from the Mount Wilson property. But Stein and Kalista's ongoing drug use was making their relationship erratic. They'd argue one minute and reconcile the next. The environment was no place for a young child. Did you ever think that maybe it would have been safer to send her home?
I never saw that me using put her in harm's way, so which I probably see that now. But in saying that, even drugs, no drugs, like none of this should have happened at all.
It was on January 11 that Kalista made a split-second decision that will forever haunt her. Charlise had been swimming in the Caravan Park pool when Justin Stein said he planned to return to Mount Wilson.
Charlise said, "Can I go with Daddy, Mum?" I said, "Of course you can." Like, I didn't think anything of it, and that's the last time I saw her. I wish I had said no.
But heartbreakingly, Kalista didn't say no. Only Justin Stein knows exactly what took place after he left with Charlise. But phone records show once he got back to Mount Wilson, he spent hours looking at dating sites and pornography. Police believe Stein murdered the little girl shortly after.
There is nothing that a 9-year-old could do to an adult who is there to protect her that could justify any outcome for what happened.
Coming up.
Yep. Go ahead, you've got the police.
Sorry, I need to report my daughter missing.
From missing to murdered. The moment police come face to face with their main suspect.
I suppose you have that instinct that this wasn't going to end well.
Yep. Go ahead, you've got the police.
Sorry, I need to report my daughter missing.
It's January 14, 2022, and Kalista Mutton is making a desperate call for help.
How old is she?
She's 9.
She believes her little girl Charlise has disappeared in the Blue Mountains.
Okay, now do you have any thoughts on where she might have gone? Does she have a relative or friend nearby?
She's here on holiday for a month with me.
It had been 2 nights since Kalista had last seen her daughter. After agreeing to let her stay alone with her fiancé, Justin Stein, at his family's property at Mount Wilson. A massive search was launched to find the missing schoolgirl. But while that was happening, Homicide Commander Superintendent Danny Doherty says police were already fearful something terrible had occurred.
This was a particular suspicious disappearance, and it was a homicide investigation. You're hoping for the best, but you're planning for the worst. I suppose you have that instinct that this wasn't going to end well.
As the last person to see Charlise alive, Justin Stein was brought in for questioning.
Justin? Yes. Hi, Justin. Detective Sergeant John Lothians. How you going, mate? I'm just letting you know that our conversation's being recorded.
Yeah, that's no drama at all.
Are you happy for that?
What police didn't know at this point was that just hours earlier, the 31-year-old had dumped Charlise's body down a riverbank. And now, instead of confessing, Stein appeared confident he could lie his way out of trouble.
Oh, that kid really does mean the world to me. If anything happens, I'll never live with myself.
Take a minute, have a sip of drink or something if you want. But the times of when all this has happened is very important.
I feel like, I'm just going to never feel responsible in it, you know what I mean?
Have you been involved in the death of Charlise?
No. No.
You're telling me the truth?
Yes, I am telling you the truth. Like I said, I haven't had...
Stein's story was that on the first morning, Charlise woke up vomiting, and that a family friend, a local real estate auctioneer, had offered to take care of her for the day.
How did the situation come where she was left in charge of the child?
Well, I literally explained to her that I've got to go down to pick her mother up and she's too sick to literally leave. And she said, I'm literally her mother, I've got a few kids myself. Like, I'm going to be here all day. It's no problem if she's here with me for a couple of hours. Like, I didn't think anything of it, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't...
Police were immediately sceptical, but Stein needed to stick to his far-fetched story because it's what he'd told Kalista days earlier. But unlike the detectives, she'd believed every word.
He did say that the auctioneer lady has arrived and that she is going to look after Charlise while I come and get you.
And at the time, did you have any worries at all that this fairly random lady was going to be looking after your sick child?
He said that she's got 3 kids of her own. She's practically like studied nursing, so she's a nurse. So she'll be okay. Yeah, more lies.
It would take some impressive work by detectives to find out precisely what happened in the 2 days between Justin murdering Charlise and her being reported missing. On Wednesday, January 12, just hours after he killed the little girl, Stein is first captured on CCTV driving from Mount Wilson to the caravan park where Kalista was staying. On the way, he casually called into a petrol station and bought some drinks. Tellingly, he also sent Kalista several cryptic messages.
Crying now.
Why, bub? Why are you crying?
And I'm the worst father.
Lead investigator Brad Gardner says the texts are the closest Stein has ever come to a confession.
He appeared emotional. I amounted that potentially to an admission that he was trying to confess to her that something had occurred, and as it turns out, it was within hours of, or likely hours, that she was killed.
A few hours later, Stein's distinctive red ute is seen crossing the Hawkesbury River on his way to meet Kalista. She thought they were then going back to pick up her sick child, but Stein had other plans.
Justin arrives at the caravan. What's his demeanour like?
He did say, let's go into the city and get some stuff like drugs and have the day together.
It seems Stein was trying to buy himself time and knew the pull of addiction would be too tempting for Kalista Mutton. So instead of returning to Mount Wilson, they drove into the city where security cameras recorded them buying drugs. And that wasn't the end of Stein's manipulation of Kalista.
We got some drugs. We did go to a park and we did have sex after having the drugs and, yeah.
How do you reconcile that?
Makes me sick, really. I think about it. 'Cause after what he's done, like, well, how could you be... I don't go into that, like, because it makes me physically feel sick.
Did it occur to you that you should get back to your sick child?
Yeah, I see that now. But at the time, of course, I believed that she was in good hands and she was with a family friend.
You can see, you know, when it comes to the public's perception of you, how terrible that looks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was the drugs and I loved him.
You loved your daughter too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, a lot.
It would be 11 hours before Stein and Kalista arrived back at Mount Wilson. She expects to find her daughter there with the auctioneer, but instead, no one is home.
Did you try and call anyone or get in contact with Charlise?
I did ring the hospitals because I thought maybe she's taken Charlise to a hospital because she was unwell. So I was on the phone ringing multiple hospitals.
And what's Justin saying and doing while you're calling the hospitals?
I think he said, she's not going to be there. You're not going to find her.
Unaware that her daughter's dead body is hidden somewhere on the property, Kalista asks Stein to call his mother Arnemy and get a phone number for the auctioneer lady.
He makes a phone call to his mother, who is unaware of what's happening. Arnemy indicates that the auctioneer lady was not going to arrive.
Detective Brad Gardner says this is the moment Stein knows his story is unravelling. So he completely changes tact and now tells Kalista an even more fanciful lie. That Charlise has been kidnapped by criminal associates he used to know.
How ridiculous is this story?
It certainly worked in his favour to buy him further time, and he was obviously trying to avoid the police being notified because Charlise was still on the property.
By the next morning, Kalista is becoming frantic, and tensions between the two erupt when Stein catches her going through his phone. In fear for her life, she drives away in his ute.
I basically got into the car and I locked it, and I remember just taking off, like something told me just to go.
But there was no escaping Stein's fury.
Kalista, bring back my car now. I'm saying it's only once. If you don't bring it back, I am going to fucking hurt you as well as everyone else. And I'll tell the police that you're the one who took your daughter.
He repeatedly rang Kalista, leaving her these threatening voicemails.
And I've got my fucking guns, and I'm going to fucking kill you now. I'm fucking serious. You fucked me over for the last time. It was fucking you doing this with Charlise to fuck me, wasn't it? I'm going to kill you!
Unbelievably, just 10 minutes later, a much more composed Stein reports his vehicle stolen to police.
Welcome to the police assistance line. This is Rachel. How can I help you?
Oh, yes, hi, Rachel. Someone just stole my car from out of the front of my house in the Blue Mountains.
He needed that vehicle in order to take Charlise away. That at that particular time, without that vehicle, he had no other means of to get rid of the body.
In the chaos, Kalista returned to the Mount Wilson property. But by then, local police were already on their way to investigate the stolen ute. Stein was clearly worried Kalista would tell police her daughter had been kidnapped by his former criminal associates, so he convinced her to hide.
I said, "We're going to tell them," and he said no, because if you tell the police, they will shoot her, they'll kill her.
I mean, you didn't believe that?
I did. Because he said they were really dangerous people.
His plan worked. The officers came and went with no idea a little girl had been murdered. That afternoon, Stein set off from this quiet and peaceful village of Mount Wilson in his ute, towing a boat. He told Kalista he was going to war and he promised he'd rescue their little girl. But the awful truth was he was actually going to dispose of Charlise's body.
It was just all lies, all lies. Everything was lies, but I held on to that hope that she was okay.
Are you happy for that up there, Such?
Yeah.
Up next, how police cornered the killer.
Why did you not tell us the truth?
Well, fuck, like, I didn't actually, fully think about it, you know what I mean? And it makes me look completely fucked.
I've been that stressed out. There's so much going on. I mean, I can barely think straight.
Okay, take a minute.
Justin Stein is trying to convince police he's not coping with the disappearance of his fiance's little girl, Charlise Mutton.
Have a sip of drink or something if you want. But the times of when all this has happened is very important.
No, I'll get that.
But don't be fooled. They're crocodile tears.
Is there any chance if I could just grab a tissue?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course, mate.
There you go.
2 days before this interview, Stein shot dead the 9-year-old schoolgirl for reasons only known to him. He later shoved her tiny body in a barrel and dumped it down a riverbank. Perhaps clinging to the hope Charlise would never be found, a confession doesn't enter his thinking.
I've got no reason to lie to you guys. Even if I am in shit, I'll literally say straight up, like, I'll be honest with you, I always have been.
It's lie upon lie. At first, Stein tells police he'd left Charlise with a real estate auctioneer known to his mother and hadn't seen her since. But within an hour, he asks to do a second interview and changes his story. This time, he blames the little girl's disappearance on her mother, Kalista Mutton.
Now, you've said to us that what was told before wasn't the truth, and you'd like to tell us the truth now.
Yeah, it's the whole fucking, what do you call it, real estate lady. That's not my thing. That was Kalista's thing. I never had Charlise on Wednesday. She's had her the whole time. Kalista has been talking about literally doing a runner with Charlise for quite some time.
Why did you not tell us the truth?
Well, I didn't actually, fully think about it, you know what I mean? It just got dumped fucking on me and I'm being laid out to dry.
Call it arrogance or stupidity, but Stein appeared to have no idea what homicide detectives were finding out about him. In the very next room, Detective Sergeant Brad Gardner and Detective Senior Constable Justin Hayton were busy gathering evidence from his mobile phone.
He seems to be getting very agitated. You can see he's now up walking around.
Yeah, significant change in his demeanour.
The detectives were using his message history to unravel his lies and passing the information under the door.
Yep. Did Kalista come back in to your house at Mount Wilson, to your knowledge, from when she left around 9, 10 o'clock that evening through till...
No.
Stein is clearly rattled and quickly ends the interview.
I'm really starting to get sweaty and not feel good.
Okay.
I'd like to end the interview if that's all right.
At this point in the investigation, police didn't have enough evidence, or more importantly, a body, so they had to let Stein go.
He weaved a web of wicked lies and deception to shift blame from himself onto others, and he wouldn't accept the heinous crime that he had committed.
Detective Superintendent Danny Doherty heads up the Homicide State Crime Command in New South Wales. His team had to work quickly to retrace Stein's every step, gathering hours of CCTV. It was then the job of expert data analysts to sift through a trove of incriminating footage, including this vision of the killer at Bunnings in Western Sydney. In it, he looks like any other shopper, but he's buying what he needs to cover up his crime. Stein loads 5 bags of sand onto his trolley, which he would later use to weigh down a barrel containing Charlise's body.
How does he pay for the sand?
Well, you can see from the footage that he used a gift card that he received at Christmas time.
Stein left his mark all over Sydney, his red ute towing a boat caught crisscrossing town, trying to work out where to dispose of Charlise's body. It's distressing, but underneath the blue tarp, stuffed inside a barrel, is the little girl's body. A disturbing mission lead investigator, Detective Sergeant Brad Gardner, says was made even more callous by a casual stop at 7-Eleven.
He goes inside to this location and just purchases refreshments. He purchases a slushie and makes his way back out to the vehicle. And as you can see, he goes back to the back of the vehicle and what appears to, from the camera, is he's just tightening the straps.
This is only the beginning of what would be an epic 12-hour mission for Stein. Next stop, a BP to fill the boat with petrol. Every tap of his bank card leaving another crucial clue.
It's just the footage is so clear, you can tell that there's no one else in the car with him. He's on his own. Clearly you can see something covering up in the blue tarp.
cameras and toll points on multiple motorways clock Stein travelling towards the centre of Sydney, even getting caught in traffic along the way. He passes a police station before arriving at the Rose Bay boat ramp.
It was my belief when he got there, it was his intention to launch the boat and take Charlise and the barrel out to sea.
But it was too busy.
Yeah, I think it was too busy, too many people.
Stein's ute and boat are next captured here, passing a pub on his way to another boat ramp in the suburb of Drummoyne.
During his evidence, he indicated that he arrived at the park and was smoking cannabis, sitting in his ute, and I think the words he used was he just kicked back and relaxed. All the while, Charlise is in the back of his car.
It's incredible.
Oh, it's mind-boggling.
Stein stayed at the boat ramp for 3 hours, contemplating whether to sink the barrel. And all the while, he kept spinning the cruel lie to Kalista that he was on a mission to rescue Charlise from criminals who'd kidnapped her.
Getting ready.
Get our daughter. I love you.
I love you too.
On this occasion with Kalista, he's trying to intimate to her that it was his former drug-dealing colleagues that may have taken her, and therefore, if she alerted the police, they may kill her. Then it was his intention that he had backup and that he was going to go to war and would retrieve her.
So he was giving Kalista hope, essentially.
He was trying to give her all hope and that he was going to bring her back safely.
Boat and barrel still in tow, Stein makes his way back to the Blue Mountains as cameras continue to capture his movements into the early hours of Friday, January 14. But then, the most important evidence yet. The barrel had disappeared. As you'll see, this murderer's days of freedom were about to end.
I knew that at that particular time that I could arrest Justin Stein.
It was a day on the job homicide detective Justin Hayton will never forget. He and his colleagues were convinced Justin Stein was responsible for Charlise Mutten's disappearance and likely murder. But they still needed to find the little girl. The breakthrough came when coordinates on Stein's phone led the investigator to a location on the banks of the Colo River.
I had noticed on the edge of the road there was some remnants of sand that was in sort of a semicircle, if you like, which was a bit like a line just going around as if it was overspill from something.
Detective Hayton only had to take one look over the cliff to find what the team had been searching for. It was the barrel suspected of hiding Charlise's body.
I just had that gut feeling. I just knew it was her. I hadn't seen the barrel before, but I just knew.
The discovery of the barrel was a bittersweet moment. Lead investigator, Detective Sergeant Brad Gardner, headed straight for the main suspect and waited for the next phone call.
We maintained surveillance until such time as we could ascertain that, yes, Charlise was in the makeshift coffin.
Underneath this blue tent on the side of the road, Detective Hayton had the horrendous job of opening the barrel.
The crime scene sergeant moved the sand across from one side to the other until we got to a point where we had come across some clothing. And also, after a little bit more of moving the sand, we come across what appeared to be human remains. So I was aware of the clothing that Charlise was last seen in. So I knew that that clothing was consistent with something that she was wearing at the time.
You can't unsee those moments, can you?
No, you can't. No.
In one phone call, the arrest was on.
As we walked up the stairs and into the back, Justin comes back from a hidden room, and I arrest him.
What do you say to him?
I just said that you're under arrest for the murder of Charlise Mutten.
Did he look shocked or surprised?
No, not at all. It's like he was waiting for us to knock on that door.
Thinking back to that day will always be gut-wrenching for Charlise's mother, Kalista Mutton.
I just screamed and just said no, and just screamed that she was gone.
The police had their man, but the investigation was far from over. An autopsy was needed to determine how Charlise was killed. It was tough going on everyone, especially Detective Hayton, who for 2 days stayed by the young girl's side.
We were informed by the forensic pathologist that there was 2 bullet holes. So we had one on a hip, around a hip area on the backside of her body, and then the other one was in her face.
Were you shocked?
I was shocked about the one in the face, definitely. Who shoots a little girl in the face? And why?
To build their case against Stein, police still needed to find the gun he used to shoot Charlise, and they needed help. So Homicide boss, Detective Superintendent Danny Doherty, made a public appeal.
People may have remembered the suspicious activity, and it's really important to help the investigators in this matter. Remember, we're highly motivated because we're working on behalf of Charlise.
And it worked. A tip-off led Detective Hayton to this patch of bushland, a few kilometres down the road from the Stein family property at Mount Wilson.
A member of the public had been out here walking around and located a disturbed area of the ground that didn't blend in with the natural environment. And then they eventually made a Crime Stoppers report.
In a shallow hole, he found 2 guns wrapped in plastic, a Winchester rifle and a BSA .22 caliber bolt-action gun, the weapon used to kill Charlise. Not only was Stein's fingerprint on the scope, there was more.
So we had the tape on there, which was similar to the tape used on Charlise. The black plastic bags was similar, and the blue tarp was similar again. So those 3 combined with what we had with Charlise, I was pretty certain, just knowing that this was tied into Justin Stein.
Even more disturbing evidence was found inside the house where Charlise spent her final night alone with her killer. Every corner of the Stein family's palatial home was photographed.
We covered almost 100 locations on this property. So this is the bedroom where Charlise was staying when she was at the property.
And you can see that someone has slept in that bed. But Charlise didn't stay in that room, did she?
No, according to Justin Stein, in the middle of the night, he indicated that Charlise made her way through the shared bathroom and into his bedroom.
What catches your eye about this bedroom?
Well, firstly, you notice that the bed doesn't have sheets on the mattress.
And why is that?
During our search, we identify that the sheets have been laundered and placed in the dryer.
And what does that tell you?
That there is potential clean-up in that room. Justin indicated in his version that Charlise vomited, but we could never prove that given the items were washed and laundered.
One of the most troubling clues in this room is some medicine found on the bedside table. It's Seroquel, an antipsychotic medication prescribed to Justin Stein.
Most importantly, that was the same drug that was located in Charlise Mutton during toxicology examinations. We're unable to establish whether she accidentally consumed that.
What sort of level of that medication was found in her system?
What we do know is that she had a toxic level for a child that it should not have been prescribed to a girl under 10. She would have been very drowsy and she would have been unsteady on her feet, so she would have required care.
Detective Gardner doesn't believe Charlise was murdered inside the home. Instead, he thinks the fatal shot was fired out the back of the property, where Charlise had fled for her life.
We don't know why, and I can't fathom why it would be, that she has run away from him and that he has effectively located the gun, given chase, has shot her, causing her to fall or been incapacitated, and frighteningly has walked up, reloaded the rifle and shot her. It's akin to an execution.
The terror she must have felt.
Unimaginable. I couldn't think of what was going through her mind other than wanting her family to be with her.
Yeah, that's not drama at all.
Coming up, Justin Stein's despicable final act to avoid jail.
She ran down to me to the shed because the last thing she screamed was my name, and then you heard "Mummy, no," and then the second gunshot.
You are about to receive a phone call from the correctional facility.
When it comes to trying to get himself out of trouble, Justin Stein knows no boundaries. He's a compulsive liar who's even happy to deceive his own mother, Arnemy, about murdering a little girl.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, love.
How are you?
Not great.
Yeah, that makes two of us.
From behind bars while waiting to stand trial for killing 9-year-old Charlise Mutten, Stein concocted his final and most vindictive story yet. He told Arnemy he didn't commit the crime, instead pinning it on Charlise's mother, Kalista.
She's going to get charged for everything. That's the truth of it. They've got no murder weapon. They've got nothing. They can't even pin me for murder because it didn't happen.
Because you didn't do it.
Exactly. I know what happened. I saw it happen.
Charlise spent the last night of her life alone with Stein at his family's property in Mount Wilson, 2 hours west of Sydney.
So, please don't tell me she was killed at Mount Wilson.
She was, but not on the property.
What do you mean, not on the property?
I was on Crown land.
Where?
Behind the shed on the fire break.
What was she doing there?
I'm guessing she ran down to me to the shed because the last thing she screamed was my name, and then you heard "Mummy, no," and then the second gunshot.
Right, and the gun?
I don't know what she's done with it.
Another lie. Stein did know where the murder weapon was. He'd buried it in a shallow hole not far from his family's estate. Unaware police had already found the gun, Stein implicates himself in this recorded phone call by asking his mum to help him retrieve it.
At some point there is something I do have to ask you to do.
No.
Yes, I need you to retrieve some stuff in the mountains.
Retrieve some stuff?
Yes. Well, you know how I borrowed certain things off my friend? I never got to take them back. I kind of dumped them in the bush. So I need you to retrieve them.
Oh, I think they found them.
What do you mean? Why do you think that?
They found them because they showed me photographs.
Of what?
Of them.
These jail calls only further incriminated Justin Stein. Yet, despite the overwhelming evidence against him, he continued his campaign of lies right to the very end. In court, he testified that he saw Kalista shoot her daughter dead before pointing the gun at him.
As soon as I found out that he was saying I did it, that's when I knew that he'd done this. And that was another horrible moment that I've let this person in and trusted and believed everything that he told me.
The court case was a gruelling 3 weeks for Charlise's mother. Kalista says she felt like she was on trial while under cross-examination from Stein's lawyers. And in the witness box, she also learned some devastating truths about her little girl's death.
I never was told how many times she'd been shot. I never was told where she was shot. Did she suffer? The thought of what she had would have gone through, that's what breaks me.
In June, a jury unanimously found Stein guilty of murdering Charlise Mutten. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. For Homicide Commander, Detective Superintendent Danny Doherty, there was no other option.
Not many people get sentenced to life in jail without parole. Who does he join the ranks of?
Multiple assassination, murders. So he's in there with the worst of the worst of criminals, and that's where he deserves to be.
But still, there's one question in the case against Justin Stein that detectives haven't been able to answer. Why? When you don't have the why in a case, does it leave it open?
It does leave it open. It's our job is to find the answers for the family and to seek justice for the victim, and in this case, a 9-year-old girl. To find out why, you'd have to dig into the dark catacombs of his mind, and that's where the answers are. And unless he discloses that, we'll never find the real reason why this happened.
Kalista, do you feel like justice has been served for Charlise?
I do feel like she's got justice through the court. It's just, there's not enough justice that will make it better for me and my family.
Kalista Mutton can't change the past, but she's working hard for a better and more peaceful future. And incredibly, that includes finding forgiveness for Justin Stein.
I forgive him not what he's done. I forgive him not for him, but for me. So he has no power over me.
She's free of addiction, but will always carry the heavy burden of what happened to her daughter. It's her own life sentence.
How would you like Charlise to be remembered?
Oh, just this amazing little bundle of joy that was just a beautiful, kind soul that didn't deserve to have her life taken.
Hello, I'm Dimity Clancey. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minute segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.